just want to welcome Theo Crous to my interview this morning during lockdown in South Africa. And so Theo is the owner of Belleville Studios, and he can tell us a bit more about that in a moment. And he was also in a very famous band, South African band called the Springbok Nude Girls. So he's a music producer and he's also award winning. So there's a lot of stuff we can experience when we talk to him. So good morning, Theo. How is your morning?
I had a jog. Good morning. I had a jog. And it's my first jog in 2 months. So I was a bit, I'm not that fit. And I'm not really a jogger as well.
I'm not a jogger either.
Yeah, no, jogging is not like a, but like it's the only thing you can do now. I cannot surf, I cannot play golf, so I have to jog.
So tell me, yes, because I've actually seen you in Melkbos surfing. So is that one of your hobbies?
I love surfing. But now you can't do any, like, I don't know, like any exercise that you can, that you have to do, like gym, or you have to, like, it has to be something to do with me going out and doing something.
Yes.
I can't, it doesn't have to be, I can't do it in the, like at the house. Like, I can't understand how people can exercise at the house. What the fuck are you doing in the house? Like,
because I can't get out. And I think so. This is one of the things, right? So, how are you experiencing? So, you're in South Africa, you're in Cape Town. What are your first impressions when lockdown first happened? What did you think about the whole thing?
I think, like everybody, I was fearful. Well, not like, well, probably like everybody. I think even the scientists didn't know, from what I can read. As nobody really knew what the virus causes and what it does. Is it like Ebola? Is it going to kill a lot of people? Isn't it? And we went into this lockdown, and it was very, everybody was very fearful. I was very fearful about, what's going to happen, especially because South Africa is unique in many ways. We're unique in the sense that we have so many different cultures and backgrounds in South Africa, but we also can't apply a United States or a first world country strategy to our lockdown, because people will die of hunger before they actually die of a virus.
Which is currently happening, really. I mean, we've been in lockdown for 48, was it yesterday, 48 days? So that's a long time.
So I know our government looks at, I think President Ramaphosa is involved. Well, the Gates Foundation, Bill and Melinda Gates are helping. He's consulting with them, and they're looking at ways how to solve it. And I know he's trying his best, but I don't know if they're applying too much of a first world methodology to and the thought process, because it's obviously not going to work. Well, I don't think for me, it's not going to work in our environment. So
no.
But anyway, in the beginning, I agreed. I agreed with the lockdown, and I was fearful of the lockdown. And as it became more apparent what was happening, it's evident that South Africa can't sustain itself like other countries can. We just don't have the money.
No.
So,
and I mean, they did crazy stuff that other countries didn't do, like ban alcohol sales and cigarette sales.
No, I don't really know. I mean, there's a lot of conspiracies about the cigarette sales. The fact that
Back
Lamini
pocket,
Zuma.
getting the
Yeah,
back pocket.
yes. So, you know, but it's all, it's the same. That thing for me is the same conspiracy theorist as people thinking of 5G. It's like, it's a thing that people say to each other.
Yes.
She's friends with that guy, and now automatically she must be getting money because we have a corrupt state. But that's unfortunately what happens in South African society, is that because we have a history of corruption, automatically when someone does something, even if it's for the good of South Africans, they feel immediately it's a conspiracy, and Facebook is full of it. And
yes, and no one trusts anyone, and that's bad because of history. People go like, oh, but surely something must be going on. But how has it impacted your life? So what do you do on a day-to-day? Because obviously you have a business, but the business, I don't know if you can run your business remotely and online. Is that how's it affected your business?
it's actually funny because for the past couple of years I've been thinking about my studios at my house. So I am in my studio right now. So, and for the past 2 years I was like, get out of the house, you know, children and work environment and blah blah blah, because I've been doing it from the house for 15 years.
Yeah.
And I've built a studio so that it's separate from the house, so it's separated, and now it's actually working in my favor, because I'm doing a lot of work still, because I have the studio at the house. I don't have to go anywhere.
No.
So I do some composing for commercials still, and that kind of work. And before lockdown, I had some extra work that I had to do that I've already recorded and had to finish anyway, that I could finish remotely. So it hasn't impacted on me yet. I had projects that
Having
I had
kids
to do.
around more often.
Yeah, yes. Just on that, I think that if the positive thing about lockdown is I see my children a lot because I'm at home and stuff, but probably not as much as I would now. So the relationship with my kids have, you know, there's certain stuff that I never knew about my kids that I know now just by spending time with them.
Yes, because they
More
don't have to
time with
go to
them.
school, you see. So you've got maybe a bit more time in the morning, or you have a different routine
Yeah,
of how you connect. No one can go out, so you tend to, we did the
yeah,
same. There was a lot more baking and playing board games and puzzles and playing in the backyard with the
yeah.
ball, stuff we'd never
So
done.
there's a lot more conversational stuff happening with kids instead of just playing or just watching a movie with them before bedtime. It's like you can actually have a conversation, get to know them a bit better. So if anything, I think what this lockdown has taught me is that the time that you spend with your kids is more valuable than what you think
Mm.
it is.
Totally.
And the time, like what you think is what I think is quality time, like watching a movie or going to the cinema or uh, going out for, or you know, like, or playing or doing a puzzle, is is good time with your kids. But having a conversation about stuff never actually happens with a kid until after that period is gone. So you first play with your kid for a while, and then when they get tired of playing, then you start talking.
Yes.
You know,
And then
then
they
it's
open
a
up, right?
conversation. Yeah, yeah,
And
and
you discover
that
all
never
about
happens normally, because it's normally like, let's go, we don't have time, let's go to sleep, and then they want to talk, and you're like, well, it's too late.
no, no, go to bed right now. We can't lie
And
around
my
chatting.
daughter, well, me and my daughter, we're a bit different. Me and Lisa, my daughter, because um, we talk a lot, and we talk a lot like between, like my wife goes to sleep at 9:30, and she thinks my daughter goes to sleep also at 9:30, but my daughter wakes up at 10, and then we spend time until 12. And then we
Wow.
normally get like food, and we, like, my
Hang
wife
out.
knows it's happening, but she, you know, but like, yeah, so we talk a lot. But like, so the positive thing about this is that I got to know my kids better and I understand their needs a bit better. So, and also to have insight into which part of their lives they need help with. You know, I don't think well, us as parents, we understand what our kid needs. It normally comes from the school, where it's like, oh, he's really struggling with blah blah, and this really, and you're like, oh, I'll talk to him, and then you talk to your kid for like a half an hour about whatever the school talked about.
Yeah.
And now you find out that you can actually witness what they struggle with and help them with that. So there's that time with your children that's extremely valuable. And I think if this isn't taught us a lesson about how we should actually be raising our kids, I don't know what will, you know.
Yeah, it's almost like this virus has brought a lot of stuff for me. One thing is the level of pollution, how incredibly clear everything is. I suddenly got that. The noise pollution, waking up and it's actually quiet. I like that. And then this whole connection. I had to homeschool my 12-year-old. I'm not great at certain subjects, but it was like, okay, I had to go and sit there and go, okay, yeah, let's work out these math problems. Shit, okay, I can't remember how to do this. How do you do double-digit long division again? I'm like, oh, okay, we need to write these things.
Yeah, I can't remember any of that stuff.
It
But
had to, yeah. But I got to know her, and suddenly we had this connection. So I think you're right. It took something like a virus for humanity to just get back to some of the basics. And the basics are we've been running around on this little wheel to make money and just exist. But ultimately, the big things, the small stuff at home, is actually what made this worth it and made it quite a peaceful experience. I didn't expect it to be so calm. I was kind of imagining trucks in the street and police everywhere, but maybe I'm just oblivious to it. But I thought it was going to be very different to what it turned out.
Yeah, I also think that our police and our social workers and most of the people working on the front lines are working in very poor areas and are expecting us as privileged people to look after ourselves. I think that's kind of the thought. Because,
I like it. So I'm going to touch a little bit on your career, right? I've known you for a very long time, in fact, because we went to school together, and I don't think people. And again, I interviewed Albert Maritz the other day, and he was in DF Milan, and I was like, what? Crazy. So I've known you since I went to high school, and I was 13 years old, and you were a few years older than me. And then, even then, you were playing guitar. That's what I remember about you. Very musical, very funny. I remember watching you play guitar, and you still have this passion to this day. So tell us a bit more about your music career, your experience with bands, your touring, U2, Springbok Nude Girls, Foo Fighters, just whatever comes to mind. You've got...
So I started playing guitar when I was 5 years old. My brother actually had a guitar, but he never played it, but it was in my room. So I started playing it out of curiosity. And then I ended up liking it. And then when I was older, I got an electric guitar, I think when I was 13, and then I started playing guitar, and then I just didn't stop. I think in school, I spent much more time playing guitar than I actually did schoolwork.
That's not a bad thing.
No, but I didn't do anything academic or much later. I'm actually studying now.
Because I saw you've got like university and PhD and MAs, and you studied abroad in Middlesex or somewhere?
Yeah, I studied an MA at Middlesex. and now I'm doing a PhD in business science. I actually just sent my PhD proposal in like 2 days ago.
Wow. Now I
But
bet
I
that.
mean, that only happened later because I mean, my family, I wouldn't say we were poor, but we were like middle class, maybe lower middle class. Same as all the people we knew. Like,
Yeah.
just like most of our friend circle were like middle class, lower middle. And so there wasn't really money to study unless you really wanted to. Like my mom said to me, look, you can go study it because I wanted to do jazz in general. That was I think at the time it was the only musical course you could really do that was improvisation based.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you had to go study classical.
Classic, and you're like, no
And
freedom.
like my girlfriend at the time, her family was rather, well, they were well off, and she went and studied jazz. And like I wasn't really into jazz, but that's the only thing that you could do. And I said to my mom, like, I can go study that, and it's going to cost a lot of money. But like, I'm not a jazz guy, so what's you know,
What's the point?
what's the
I want to
point?
do
So I
music,
just
but I don't want to do jazz. Yeah.
yeah. So I wanted to, but I thought no, I'm just going to waste my mom's money, and we're going to sit with this massive debt. And then what am I going to do with this music degree? Like really, like
Well, hopefully you can orchestrate jazz bands.
yeah. You can play in the jazz club with two people you can play at the Green Dolphin on a Sunday.
Yes. Yes, exactly. And
Mm.
you surpassed that by far. It just shows you, right? Your
But
passion.
I think also, like, I mean, I have tremendous respect for jazz musicians, but I'm not a jazz musician. So, I
Mm,
mean, if you're a jazz musician, you want to study jazz, that's awesome. And that's,
exactly.
there's, but like, that's not me. So I didn't do that. But like, I always wanted to do music. But then I went to the Navy, came out of the Navy. And then by chance, I met Arno,
Oh,
our
yes.
singer. Um, I was There was this girl in our school, Dalian, and Dalian dated Arno,
Yes, I remember.
and I dated this girl called Corlia, and they stayed together in a flat. They were all studying, and
Yeah.
Arno was from Worcester, but he dated Dalian, and I dated Corlia, and that's how we met. Mm. And if I hadn't met him, nothing would have happened. If I
But
hadn't met
just that
Arno,
one thing. Isn't life amazing, right?
if I hadn't met Arno, I would not have what I have now. That's
Wow.
that's period. I actually send him a thing on his birthday as well to say thank you. I think I say thank you every year, but like it's not. Um, Coincidentally, it's the thing I'm studying now is creative collaboration theory. It's a theory on how people get together and how when you work together on something you can get somewhere sooner.
Yes, I agree.
And I think it's because both of us had a drive to do something not only creatively. We were very different. He was much more alternative thinking than I was at the time, surely, because he introduced me to like Nick Cave and
Mm.
Tinder Sticks and like really alternative bands, and I was listening to metal mostly. So we we
You kind of,
started like collaborating on stuff and not really knowing what. But we both had a drive to want to do something with our lives because he was a printer, um, a litho machine miner. That's what you called it at that time, litho machine miner. So he printed in Wellington. He was printing labels for K.O.B.U. The
yeah,
fruit.
the food brand.
Yeah, yeah. And his hands used to be dirty from the ink because that's what he did. He packed. He
Incredible.
worked the printing machine. And I worked in a music shop, and both of us were like very driven to do something with our lives, but we both of us didn't really have had any other education except for high school.
Hmm.
And I think it's both our um, I think it's both our weaknesses that actually got us to do something. In weaknesses in terms of what society expected of us. So we didn't go study. We didn't go study. He's dyslexic. I did very badly at school, but we both wanted to do something with our lives in terms of music. And
you found common ground, and that's kind of where you collaborated. That space where you both had the same interest, not the same type of interest, but just music.
And it actually went very fast from there. Like we literally, we got to know each other. He played in another band. He left the band that he was in. We met the other two guys at a jam night in Stellenbosch, and we asked them if they don't want to be in our band. And we literally wrote our first album, I think, in 2 weeks.
Wow.
It was really fast. We had 2 weeks. We had our first gig in a month. And then my girlfriend at the time was running the PR for the Nielsen, which is the cafeteria at
Stellenbosch.
At Stellenbosch, yeah. And Johnny Clegg came to play there.
Wow.
And she organized as an opening slot for Johnny Clegg, but we've already played a gig at that stage. I actually remember, like, I was so driven about this whole Nude Girls thing. It was so funny. Like, when the Stones came to play here, I think in 1994, the Stones came here.
Yes.
And I phoned, I don't know who brought them over. It's either Real Concerts or Volkswagen, I think, brought them over. And I think Real Concerts, I'm not sure who brought them over. Anyway, but I found their number. And I phoned them, like, for an opening act for the Stones. But, like, we don't even have 10 fans. But I phoned them. I phoned the chick.
You had the heart. You had the heart and the bravery.
The guys are opening act for the Stones, and the girl said, "Who are you?" And I said, "We're in Springbok Nude Girls." And she laughed and put the phone down. She laughed like ah.
But it didn't stop you.
No, like a couple of years later, we did a show with Tracy Chapman and the Spin Doctors and the Mission. And I think it was organized by the same people. And I met the girl who put the phone down in my ear. It was awesome.
The beautiful cycle of life.
Yeah. And I don't even think she realized. I remembered her name. And so when I met her, I knew who I was speaking to, but I don't think she really knew. And I didn't realize.
Maybe she didn't want to remember that she did it.
But it was funny. It was funny when that happened. But and then we said, like, at that time, CDs were just being produced, but not in South Africa. So we didn't have CD plants here yet. Companies like Sonopress and CD Technologies, who used to print all our CDs, they didn't exist yet. They were still being built. So if you wanted a CD, you had to go print it in another country.
Wow.
So we found this guy in Dukai, and he said if we record a whole album with him, he can get it printed in Canada or something.
Awesome. And so we all remember this is without really having Google and stuff.
No, we just found out about this guy, and this guy prints CDs, and this guy and that. So we went to that guy, and we recorded the first album on a Betamax. He had a thing, and then he had a Betamax, like an 8-track. And we recorded with the Betamax 8-track, and we recorded the whole album, I think, in 10 hours. Like, the whole album was done. Wow. But the funny thing is, like, when we recorded the first album, there was this guy had a studio in his house, and he had an electronic drum kit. And at the time, it was pretty out. I mean, it might even be cool right now, but, like, that time it was outdated. So it was from 1987. So yeah, it's called a Simmons. So if you listen to like, I don't know, like Def Leppard, or it's that drum sound. You know, it's like an 80s drum sound.
Yeah.
So we recorded the whole album with the electronic kit.
Incredible.
And then we went back and we're like, yes, it's gone. This is maybe not how we want it to sound.
Not our sound.
It would be funny, of course, no one has that recording of the Nude Girls with that electronic drum kit, because we're like, because the dude probably wiped it or whatever.
Oh,
But
I would have loved to have heard it now.
yeah, but then we went back and we're like, no, let's do it again. So we asked them to do it again. So we recorded with a real drum kit.
And suddenly,
And
there it was.
yeah, and then that was. And then what happened was the airplay people at the time, like now, if you want to get something airplayed at 5FM or Highveld, or there's a committee of people, and you send your song in, and the committee listens to the song, and they see if it's relevant to their format, and they either more often than not they don't play the song, and sometimes they do. But at that time, it was a girl called Bev Tromp handled all the playlisting for 5FM, which is then Radio 5. So I just phoned her every day. I found out who she was, and I just phoned her every day.
Jeez,
Said, hey, man,
you like phoning people.
Can you just play my band? And she's like, what? Who's your band? And blah, blah, blah. And eventually, like, she said, okay, fuck it. Just send me the tunes.
Good.
Yeah, so we sent her a Bubblegum on My Boots, and we sent one to Barney Simon, and he liked it, and he played it. And yeah, and then our 500 discs came back in the meantime while all this happening. Our 500 discs came back from Canada with the wrong spelling of, the wrong spelling of the name, and like, anyway, so we sold like 500. We had 500 of those discs, and we sold them. We kind of made money off them. And then we sold, and I think we ordered another 500, and we sold 1,500 of those CDs.
Now that's amazing.
Yeah, but it's at that time, like, you couldn't make so much. Now, if you print 1,000 CDs and you sell them at 200 Rand a CD, you can make 100,000 Rand out of 1,000 CDs.
That's amazing. But then back then it wasn't, because the production cost was so high.
Yeah, it was high, but now it's low.
Yeah.
You print CDs for nothing. Anyway, but so then these two lawyers from Stellenbosch got involved with us. One guy was Johan Rupert's right-hand man, and he was doing business for him. And he ended up being our business manager.
Wow.
Because they saw us play, and they thought people were going to take advantage of us. So he just started representing us for free. And then he sent the stuff to Sony, and then Sony's guy came down one evening, and they signed us.
Incredible.
And just so weird. And then we started being a Sony band. I think we were the first South African band to be signed, but I think a lot of other things had to do with the success of the band. I don't think it's just the fact that we had songs, or at that time, 1994, the country became a democracy. 1995, we won the World Cup. Our name was connected with that. During 1994 and 1998, we had the biggest turnover of South African music in the history of South Africa. So, not just the Nude Girls, everybody, local music outsold international artists by a long shot. So we in 1996, for the study, I did a study on South African music for some other paper, and there was, I think, almost 22 million albums sold. 1996, and I think 12 million of that was local content.
That's incredible. They were very
So
patriotic back then.
yeah, so a great deal of the success of the band and all bands that started there was a combination of things. I think if the Nude Girls had to start now, we probably won't get anywhere.
Nah,
It
that's
was
not
the
true.
time.
I think you would still. I think you know what it
Yeah.
takes as well. You've said something very clearly. Each time you say something like, and then I called them, and then it, when you drive something, when you're in a band,
Yeah.
right, it needs direction because otherwise it's just a band who's playing music locally and then never quite makes it to where it needs to go. You need people
Yeah.
who are fearless, who keep pushing that. So I think that the combination in your mix within the band, there was Arno, then there was you. Sorry, I don't. Let me just move. And the
Mhm.
combination of how you guys got together and then how you kept pushing it forward. So it needs a balance, right? It needs
Yeah, it
where
does. Yeah.
one person's got one strength, you've got something else, and that
Yeah.
combination is what made it magical.
Yeah. I think also, like, because music outsold stuff, and you must remember before Nude Girls and like bands like Sugar Drive and Lithium and all those bands, the only point of reference for South African young South Africans were the Full Frame movement, which
Mm,
was very politically driven.
yeah.
In fact, most rock music that came out of South Africa, with the exception to maybe Rabbit or um, bands before then, but most of the music were protest music. So Bright Blue wrote Weeping, and like there's all these protest songs, and then it was the Full Frame movement, and the youth of the 90s weren't interested in any political. Um,
No, because they'd already dealt with all of this. They wanted some freedom,
yeah.
something different.
So I think the Nude Girls kind of echoed that thinking.
Yes, because
We just
it wasn't about being anything political. It was about a certain type of music, and it was liberating and cool without it being preaching or telling people how to be or oppression. Or it wasn't that. It was like this
yeah.
just cool, liberating, amazing music you want to party to.
Yeah, so I think that was the appeal of that drove the appeal of the band. I think the fact that we didn't want to deal with that kind of stuff. I mean, we did a lot of human rights stuff for Mandela. We did human rights days before it was even cool it wasn't very, like, we were on many occasions on Mandela's birthday, on his 80th. We played at many of his birthday parties, but we played the 80th. I think we were the only white band on the bill.
And that's incredible because it's, I think,
And like,
I mean, it's very memorable to be able
yeah,
to do big things like that.
and like Human Rights Day in Newtown, we were also the only white band on the bill. And so we did a lot of those things, but we never talked about it much when we did it. But anyway, so yeah, so the success of the band happened then, and we started touring the world and that, and then basically what happened to me is friends of mine, Lithium, had this album that they wanted to produce, and they didn't have a producer, and they didn't want to get the person that EMI asked them to get, so they asked me if I don't want to do it because they listened to what I did with the Nude Girls' first album. I didn't really know what I was doing, but I what I thought was right. But anyway, so they asked me if I wanted to produce their album, and then I produced their album, and that album won an award for like best engineering. I wasn't the engineer on it; it was a guy called Peter Paulson. He engineered, and that won an award, and that's how I started producing stuff.
And then which
And
do you
then
prefer? Would you go back to being in a band or do you prefer producing?
I probably prefer. I don't know. Both have got its. ups and downs. I don't think anything can beat a live performance ever.
Yeah.
Even when you're in the studio, I still go for a live performance. For me, is the better thing, but it's not sustainable. Not even for, maybe for a Foo Fighters or
Yeah, tell us
the
about the Foo Fighters, because you had a cool appearance.
Yeah, and mild disappointment and
Oh, really?
yeah, all my stories in my when I play with people ends up with a bit of mild disappointment.
Who
So
was the coolest person you played with, and who was like the person that you probably thought was going to be amazing and then turned out not to be so cool?
um, the coolest person, I don't know. It's probably Dave, either Dave or Michael Hutchins. Which
I know.
we did in excess,
The
and he
NXS.
was
I
so
remember I
cool.
was there. I actually watched you guys live on the NXS, well, the Cape Town one. And then I
Yeah.
remember I've still got a drumstick of the NXS concert. I grabbed it.
Yeah, oh, no, that was amazing. I mean, we spent 7 days with them, and they were just amazing, really. And it's also the first band we toured with, first international band we toured with, and they
I
were
mean,
just
that's pretty
really
spectacular.
amazing. Yeah, no, I mean, Hutchins himself was. I spent so much time with him, and it was really he was an amazing dude. And but
And Dave Grohl.
uh, Dave Grohl, Dave turned out to be awesome because I mean, I loved when I was in Standard 10, Nevermind came out. So it had a tremendous effect on my life as a person.
Yes, and for me.
Like it was one of those albums that changed my life.
Yeah.
And so here I am with the guy that literally like changed my whole plot of life. And
You're like,
it was
oh.
amazing. It was
And that
amazing. And
life
then
brought you to that person. Isn't that amazing?
yeah, it was weird. Like a buddy of mine that I do albums with in LA, he said they're coming to South Africa and they don't really know people. Yeah, and we know you like riding bikes. Do you want to take them for a bike ride? And I was like, yeah, fully. And I took them for a
Yeah,
bike
I'll see if
ride.
I can fit them in.
Yeah. So I organized Harley Davidson to give us bikes, and we rode bikes. And when we were on the bike ride, a buddy of mine, Mike Hubert, was with me. And just a couple of years before, I played with Chris Cornell. Um, we did a live show, and me and Chris played some um, Soundgarden songs, and Dave knows Chris, and so Mike tells Dave the story, and Dave's like, "Well, do you want to play with us tonight?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, Do you know the Cheap Trick song Stiff Competition?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And I don't know the song, but I'm like,
I'm
"Yeah,
going to learn.
yeah," because I don't want to miss the opportunities. I'm like, "Yeah, I
Oh,
know."
of course
I
I
can
know it.
still remember. Yeah,
Play it every night before I go to
yeah,
bed.
tonight. Yeah. I'm like, "Yeah." And so we ride bikes the next day, the next for the next couple of hours, and eventually we get back to the hotel. It's like 7 o'clock, and I'm like, I haven't learned the song yet. I'm like, okay, cool, guys, I'm gonna go home. I want
Quickly.
to go learn the song. And they play at 9, and Dave's like, no, man, just come with us, drive with us to the stadium. And I'm like, yeah, okay, cool. So now I'm like, I don't know any song yet. I'm like, yes. So I phoned my wife. I'm like, listen, just
Send it
bring
to
it
me.
all. Just yeah. So now it's like 8 o'clock. I'm backstage. They're writing a set list. My wife arrives. I'm like, yes, I don't know the song. And I asked Chris Fiflet, the other guitarist. I'm like, listen, man, and I don't want to be a doers, but can you run me through the song and just show me?
Just want to check I've got it right.
Just check I got it right, yeah. And he goes, oh yeah. So he goes, yeah, there's this part. I'm like, okay, cool, that's one part. And he goes, and then there's this other part. I'm like, okay, cool, two parts, I got it. And he goes, and the song just turns out to be the most intricate fucking song in history for me. He's like, oh, there's this ballad part. I'm like, yeah. And he's like, oh, there's this other part in the song. I'm like, fuck. I'm like,
What did I sign up for?
yeah. So now they go and play their show. I'm standing, these people, I'm trying to listen to the song on iTunes while they're playing. I'm like, oh. I listen to the song. So eventually I like get a grip of the song. I'm like, okay, cool. I've got the song. It's sort of like, I'm not going to make my name Khat in front of
Yeah,
40,000 people. I know kind of the song.
yeah. Otherwise, I'm going to improvise.
I don't know what to do. Anyway, so I end up getting Pat Smear's guitar, and I'm like, oh, cool, okay, cool. And I walk on stage, and he's like, yeah, well, Theo, and then they start playing another song, not even that song, like it's not even fucking the song that I practiced. I'm like,
Thanks, you guys.
fuck. I'm like, so they started playing like a Stone song, "Miss You." I'm
Okay.
like, okay, cool, good. So I stumbled my way through the song. I turned my volume down at places because I was like, Jesus, I don't even know what's going on.
Just pretend like you can do it. Smile. Look cool.
Yeah. What was cool about that thing is that, and then afterwards we played stiff competition.
Okay.
So then I was like, yes, oh, I'm
I
so
got it.
fucking, yeah. But what was cool was when we played the Stone song, Taylor Hawkins was playing drums, and it was Foo Fighters playing. But
Yeah.
when we played stiff competition, Dave played drums.
Oh, wow.
So Dave played drums and Taylor sang, and Pat Smear, who was also in Nirvana, he was Nirvana's other guitarist.
Yeah.
So Nirvana toured with Pat and Kurt and Chris Novoselic and Dave.
Yeah.
That was Nirvana, the touring Nirvana. So when Dave played drums and I'm playing with Pat, I'm like, I'm in fucking Nirvana. Yes, I'm in Nirvana now. That's what I thought. I was like, fuck, I'm in,
Kick
fuck,
me out.
I'm in fucking Nirvana. That's like the best moment of my life. I'm like, fuck, I'm like Dave Grohl's playing drums, Pat Smear's playing guitar, I'm playing
Huh?
guitar.
That is like the momentous moment.
Yeah, that was like, fuck.
Hey man, how can you
That
can
was
the only thing
awesome.
that peaks that is your kids, like birth of your child. But other than that, and that's a pretty close one, you're gonna have to
Yeah,
say it's your kids, but it might be being on
yeah.
stage.
So that was like a moment for me. It's like, oh, the fuck, man. It was
This is
like
so
a bit.
cool.
So anyway, where the mild disappointment comes in is that so so me and Dave started hanging out and stuff, and he's like, listen, my birthday is I think his birthday is January the 14th. So they played in December. So he's like, listen, why don't you come to my birthday party? So I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Dave,
I'm quickly gonna
well,
check my diary
I
again.
will
You know,
come
I'm a
to
busy
your
man.
fucking birthday party. So I'm like, awesome. So I fly to LA. I go visit a friend. I go to Chicago. I travel for 2 days. I arrive in LA. And I'm thinking there might be, I don't know how many people is at Dave Grohl's birthday party. I've got no idea.
No.
So he says it's at this place called the Forum. I don't know what the Forum is. I've never been to the Forum. So I'm like, oh, okay. So I go and I get to the Forum with my buddy. And I've traveled for 2 days. So I'm like lang tired. And the Forum is a stadium. It's a big stadium. It's his 45th birthday concert. And like, and I walk into the ticket and there's a thing with my name on it and a lanyard and a
You're like,
thing and like
yeah,
happy
you remember?
birthday and like hey. And I walk in and like Kiss is playing. And like what the fuck? And then Kiss played and Motorhead played and
It's like the best birthday party ever.
yeah, like band like David Lee Ross played and like Tenacious D played Led Zeppelin.
No.
And
No.
it's just the best thing ever. And I'm like, cannot believe it. I cannot believe it.
No.
And so the concert ends. It's like a 3-hour concert. It ends, and I've got this lanyard. So I'm like, well, I've got to go backstage now because it's awesome. And I end up backstage, and like in the backstage area, like everybody that I probably ever wanted to meet in my entire life is backstage.
Wow.
And like Lemmy's, like everybody's there. And like my jet lag starts kicking in, like quite heavily. Like I look like a
Getting a
heroin
little
junkie.
bit low.
Yeah. And I start falling, like literally falling around. I said to my buddy Mike, dude, I can't fucking, we have to leave because I literally can't stand.
I'm falling over. Hold me up. If it's moving you around like this.
And so the next day, for Dave's birthday, we were supposed to go ride bikes in California.
But you slept
but
through it.
Yeah, I did. So I went home and I slept through his whole thing. I slept through the whole day. I woke up like the next morning or something. So, and then afterwards I like emailed and called like, hey Dave, I'm still riding. And so I dropped him. I dropped the nicest guy in rock and roll on his birthday.
Because of jet lag.
Because of jet lag.
But isn't that life, right?
Yes.
And now you've got the story.
I saw them again in Italy. I went back to Italy. I saw them again. And since then, me and Rami, the keyboard player for K.O.B.U.S, have become good friends. He plays on a lot of albums for me. Like he played on Dan Patlansky for me, and we do a lot of music collaborations and stuff. So there's a lot of positive stuff that came out of that. But like, it was just funny that Dave, I mean, I don't think Dave really cared about whether I was on the bike ride or not. It's just how I felt. I felt like,
of course. It just makes you feel. I remember once, because I was in the film industry for a long time, and I kept thinking, when the first time I went to Cannes, I was like, oh my God, I'm in Cannes, this is awesome. And then this one friend of ours invited us onto his yacht, and then whose yacht was next to us but Martin Scorsese, and he was getting on and off his yacht. And I was like, I mean, that's not even like the same as your extent, but I had that same feeling of like, oh my God, look where I am, this is so cool. And there are moments in your life that kind of stand out, and I think that's what life is about, these key moments, because we can't remember everything. We don't always remember all of our childhood or things that happened, but we have these key moments that stand out. And I want to just say, what about, I know you do love antique and collecting, like the old cars and renovating, and tell me a little bit about your hobby. Do you still do it?
I don't do it anymore. I've got one Mercedes left that I've basically sold, but I did a couple of cars. I did a 69 Mustang and a Chevelle. A couple of years ago, I did a Lamborghini Diablo.
Oh yeah, that's a cool car.
A purple Lamborghini.
There's probably only like one of those in South Africa.
I don't know how many, but yeah, but I do it. But like, I think people get the wrong impression of, because I do music and I do the cars, and it takes an enormous amount of investment, and there's not always a lot of return on these cars. You buy the car, you spend 3-4 years building or restoring the car, end up like emptying your house barn, and then you have to sell the car. You can't just keep the car.
No, you want to keep it, but you just need to build another garage.
Yeah, and also you have to sell the car to make a profit.
Yes.
And so, but when you drive the car, people just automatically think you have lots of money.
Yeah.
Especially with the Lamborghini, like other musicians think you're making so much money. Meanwhile, you owe so much money and you have to make some kind of a profit. So the car that I really that I've always wanted was a Lotus Esprit in 1976. I had two of them, but like I'm a big Bond fan, and The Spy Who Loved Me was my favorite Bond movie. So eventually there's three of those cars came to South Africa, the 76 ones, and I managed to get hold of two, and I bought both, and I managed to restore the one of them, and sadly I had to, like last year, I had to sell it. And it's the saddest thing. From like a 69 Mustang you can always get. There's enough. They made enough of them. You can buy a Lamborghini again. They made 5,000. You know, there's enough of them. But the Lotus SP 76, only 134 were ever made. And
that's very rare.
Yes, and you're not going to get one ever again. It's not going to happen.
Did you have it twice here when you were selling it?
Yeah, I mean, I was almost finished with the car. I had a little bit to do, but a guy from Joburg came, and like most of my car sales work like that. It's like people find out that I have the car and then they buy it. And when the buyer comes along and they offer you decent money for the car, just sell the car. Instead of going through the whole thing of like trying to sell the car and being like people and like this car dealer and that guy takes 15% and that guy. If a guy comes to you and he wants to buy the car and he gives you a decent offer, just sell the car. Sell it now. Unless you're so rich that you can keep all the vehicles, awesome. But if you're into buying and selling and restoring classic cars, if someone comes and they go, I'll give you this much for the car, and it's such a decent offer, and you don't have to go through all the shit of
the sale of it.
It comes to you. Advertising it, and this guy, and you don't trust the guy, and you know, and it's a guy that's reputable, and he found you because he wants the car.
Exactly.
That's the best position that you'll be in ever.
Yes, it's someone who's come to you.
You know the guy wants the car. You found out that you had the car. It's the best position to be in as a seller, and you can just sell the car. And there's no like you know, there's a slight negotiation and you buy the car because you know it's you know what you have, it's rare, and you can sell it. You know, but that car was special. I mean, you know, it had 24,000 miles on the clock. That's all of that did, and it stood for 30 years. I bought it from someone who bought it from someone. It was a third owner car. Yeah, it was magic, but like,
hey, maybe you can get it back one day. You've got quite a magical life.
Yeah, I mean, that guy's now trying to sell the car, but overpriced, and I don't think he'll sell it soon. He might. I know where the car is. Maybe I'll buy it back someday. But it's a very rare car. I mean, I think they're gonna. I mean, they were fetching good money. But because Lotus used Rover parts for some of their cars, just like Ferrari uses Fiat parts. Like if you buy a Ferrari from the 90s, nothing works.
No.
Like nothing. Like the window, like all the switches in the Ferrari is Fiat. Nothing works. The wipers don't. The car drives awesome. It's a great car. All the aerodynamics.
Window down.
You know, the aerodynamics and the sound of the car and everything is special of a Ferrari, and that's what makes a Ferrari so special. But all the small stuff in those Ferraris don't work.
Don't smoke inside your own car because you can't open the window.
Yeah, it's like, it's just the door struggle to open. You know, it's like all that stuff that Fiat made is just not lekker. So the same with Lotus is Rover. All the switches are Rover. All the window, the electric windows come from Rover. The wipers come from Rover. The gearbox, I think, is Citroen. But the engine and the chassis and the main design of the car is done by Lotus. Yeah. But they borrow, because all these cars like Lamborghini, Ferrari, Lotus, they all borrow parts from other cars because they can't micro-manufacture. They're not going to manufacture a small switch.
No.
Because they don't.
They need the engine. That's what they focus on.
So they do the main stuff,
big mechanical stuff,
stuff, and then the other stuff they outsource, or they get it. mean, now obviously it works differently for Ferrari and Lotus and all that, but in those times, in the 70s, they borrowed, they switch from this car, and that gearbox would work with this thing. So a lot of those cars, and it's fiberglass as well. Like in the 70s, fiberglass was quite the thing, Now it's not, but like most of those cars, most of the Lotuses were fiberglass bodies. But specifically the 76 Lotus is still worth money. I mean, Lotus eventually made over 2,000 of those cars, but only 134 was made in 76. So it's a first production year car, and they're very rare. So yeah, that was sad. That was sad. Mm.
And just to kind of end off our session and end off our conversation, if there's anything in your life you still want to achieve or still want to do or still want to create, what would that be?
I think I would like to. I've always been into scoring, so or not all, but like most of the ad stuff I do, the musical ads I do are classical scores, and I would still like to write some long form movie. I've been getting quite into that, but the type of stuff I write is very ethereal. I don't know if you know Sigur Rós, and Sigur Rós is an Icelandic band. And so the stuff I write is there's definitely a lot of African vocal type of stuff in it, but it's mixed with a lot of ethereal open landscape stuff that I make instruments and sounds out of different reverbs of the guitar. It's quite interesting, but it's very ethereal, and it's a very different style of doing things. I don't think a lot of people are doing it. It's not like a Sigur Rós, like the Icelandic band Sigur Rós, but it's kind of in that kind of vein. So I would like to. I've done two or three feature films, but they weren't. It's not full on score the whole thing. It's like a song or a part, or
So you want to score a whole feature film?
Yeah, I
I'd like
would
to
like
put you in
to.
touch with some people I know in LA or in the UK.
Yeah, that'll be awesome, because that's the kind of thing I would like to get into long form. And but to get into long form here is the budgets here. If you write a long form thing, I mean, I don't mind doing my first long form for no money, but like I don't mind, that kind of thing. But like, if you get into the full industry of doing a movie soundtrack in South Africa, you're not really going to make a sustainable income if you just do scoring.
No.
So, yeah, I mean, like, but like, if you listen to most of the TV ads I've done, and like the Johnny Walkers and Alan Grays and stuff like that, is like most of those things are very soundtracky.
Mm.
So, and
I've
Alan
actually
Gray,
listened to them because I haven't actually listened to all your stuff. I'm going to go through because I saw all the stuff in the South African Music Awards and the Luring and you've done a lot of stuff. So I need to go and maybe you can put me in touch of where I can listen to and get some of your clips, and I can also put it as a link.
On the website, there's a clip for commercials, and if you click on like the Alan Gray, I think won a bronze at Cannes, for like best. It won the Grand Prix this year at the Luries, and it won a bronze, I think, at Cannes, and some other stuff I did won another golf thing, won like a London or New York award for best music. So but all the stuff that I've won awards for advertising is more scory type of stuff. So I would like to apply that to. I'm good with writing with picture, but I just never had the opportunity to do long form.
We can expand that. I'll have a conversation with you. Maybe check in if I can put you in touch with some people I know, and see if we can
that would be awesome.
Some stuff, because I definitely know people from my previous life as a producer, film producer and music video producer. I know a few people somewhere else, and different parts of the world, that
Yeah.
might just be cool
Yeah, that'd be
connections.
awesome. Yeah, yes, thank you. That would be awesome. That would really be awesome. Let me just put yours. So
So
yeah.
just the final thought, right? If you could talk to someone in the future about your life, what it's like in lockdown, just anything that you want to add to someone in the future watching this back, anything about life or a quote or just something you want to say, just this space for if someone watches this back one day and looks at this moment in time, just looking at a person, your life, who you are, what could you express about, just what do you want to say?
I think, well, I hope social media at that point, when someone looks back at this, would be more regulated. I think um, there's a book by a guy called M. Scott Pegg. He wrote a book called The Road Less Traveled.
Hmm.
And in the book, he says, life is difficult. He says, this is a great truth about life. This is that we find ourselves in difficult spaces. But he says, if you accept the fact that life is difficult, if you can truly embrace the fact that life can be difficult or life is difficult, he says life becomes easy because you
Make
accept
peace
it.
with it, and there's no more
Yeah.
resistance.
So I think that's the greatest thing that I could give is that doesn't matter what you go through, is that it is difficult, but to have that acceptance that that it is scary and it is difficult, and we don't know when the end is of this pandemic or the situation that we find ourselves in. And if there can be a level of accepting that in your life, and just in your everyday life, I think that makes it easier for me when I wake up.
Yeah.
It becomes bearable and it becomes easy, and I can get on with my life. I see stuff on social media and people whining and conspiracy and this and that thing, and people are losing their minds in the country. And when is the country opening? And 5G and whatever, why can't it just be a virus that started with a bat in Wuhan and it just so happened to spread and people don't know how to deal with it. They don't know how to deal with it. And they caught off guard and they were scared and now they don't really know how to get back on their feet. And people want to get back to work, but they can't. And they're upset about it. Why can't it just be that's it?
That's it.
It is really that's what it is.
That's it.
There's no
That is in a
other.
nutshell.
Yeah, there's no other
There's
thing
no,
that happened.
I believe it's the
Nothing
same.
else happened. No,
Nothing. It's just
no
a
one.
virus. It went around
Yeah,
the world. People freaked out a little bit too much, and now
yeah,
they're having the repercussions of that freak out. And now we're all kind of like going like, why are we still
yeah,
wearing masks? Why can't we get out?
yeah,
But like you're saying, that acceptance of just where you are in life.
yeah,
Ek wil 'n
yeah.
klein bietjie in Afrikaans praat want ek weet daar's baie mense wat jou ken en wat luister na jou wat ook Afrikaans praat. So this part, you guys, is just a little bit in Afrikaans. Hopefully it'll subtitle it once I put it onto YouTube. So ek wil net vir jou sê, die hele gesprek is absoluut awesome en dit is so lekker met jou te chat. En
What is it?
jou day-to-day life is fascinerend. Oh wow, kyk al jou goed agter jou.
Ja,
Ja, wys my 'n klein bietjie 'n toer van waar jy is. Hierdie goed is amazing. Kyk al jou CDs en records. So vertel my 'n bietjie wat daar aangaan.
Well, dis is klomp goue plate. Ek dink dis Prime Circle, daai's Chris Chameleon.
Weet jy wat? Ek was in 'n Prime Circle video.
Is it?
Ja.
Oh my God.
Met Ryan Creer.
Wat 'n
Ek gaan
fun.
hom interview na jou vandag.
Where is it? Here's the studio. Oh.
Jy gaan met staan van Theo. Oh wow, check that out. And there's the big boy chair.
Yeah.
Oh my word. Dis super cool.
Daar's 'n ou tydmasjien.
Wys?
Oh, hierso. Hier's baie tydmasjiens. Ek het actually klomp tydmasjiens. Maar hierso ou.
Jy gaan met staan. O ja, wow, dis amazing. Dit is soos mense die ou filmkameras sien met 16
Ja,
mm recorded.
ek rekord nog op dit baie keer, maar nie baie mense het geld vir tape meer nie. So,
Nee, dit is flippin' expensive. Ek onthou 1 jaar toe ons in Cannes was, die eerste jaar wat Sony hulle HD kameras uitgebring het en ons was so, oh my goodness, this is going to change the world from film oor na digital. Het gebeur en dit is amazing want dit het baie accessible gemaak, maar daar staan nog net 'n quality aan as jy op film of as jy op tape record, wat anders is as normaal.
Ek het nog oud, ek het baie van my die Dan Patlansky, die van K.O.B.U.S goed, alles op tape gedoen. Ek het live op tape te doen. Ek doen die transfers later op digital, maar ek hou van die tape vibes.
Ja, die tape is so net 'n vraag ook in jou lewe nê. Weet jou, sê maar jy kon nou met enige band in die wêreld, van Prince tot whoever. Ek weet nou nie wie, ek's nie super cool om alles te onthou op hierdie oomblik nie, maar imagine jy kon saam met 'n band speel. Wie sou jou favorite band wees om mee te speel? As deel van die members of the band.
Probably Zeppelin, sou ek sê. So like Zeppelin te doen. Zeppelin's awesome. Actually, die ou wat ek saam met
hoekom hulle spesifiek? Why Zeppelin? Hoekom gaan hulle vir jou wat maak hulle uniek? Hoekom het hulle invloed oor jou?
I don't know, it's just I think they're the last.
Is jy Robert Plant? Watter een identify jy mee?
Well, so probably Jimmy Page wees.
So jy wil nie die front ou wees nie.
Nee, ek wil Jimmy Page wees, maar die ou wat ons Nude Girls wat ons derde album gedoen het. Kevin Shirley, hy's 'n South African, maar hy bly al lankal en hy het nogal 'n fascinating story. Hy was hier en toe by Australië toe en toe vind hy vir Silverchair as 'n producer en toe Silverchair se album het groot geraak en toe produce hy al die amazing bands, Aerosmith en whatever.
Yes.
En toe ons die album doen saam met hom in die 90s, toe ek ook vir hom gevra, like, wie sal jy moes graag wil produce? Sê, fuck Zeppelin. En toe like 'n paar jaar daarna toe mix hy die Zeppelin live, daar 5 ure, daar so 5 ure Zeppelin, al die ou footage, dat hy jare aangewerk.
Yes. That's the labor of love.
Ja, so toe hy die Zeppelin gedoen saam met Jimmy Page, wat awesome was.
Yes.
But I think they had a good it was one of the last, I think, melodic bands that could actually write songs for song's sake without it being formatted. Because radio format and that has really fucked up a lot of good music over the years. And you weet, om iets op radio te kry, to make it work on radio. You know, it made a lot of people lots of money, and I also subscribe to that because I've got a commercial side of me. But I think Zeppelin was one van our bands that did not subscribe to it and still had a very, very successful career.
Ek onthou hulle nog en ek het 'n ou platespeler gehad want ek het gedink dit was cool toe ek 'n teenager was om 'n platespeler te kry in my kamer en records te koop in plaas van tapes en goed. So ek het hierdie musiek gerock in my kamer. So ek onthou en daar's niks as 'n cool gitaar solo en headbang en as jy gaan jy na playground toe en dan gaan luister jy daar in die middel van playground hardcore en daar speel Led Zeppelin. Nirvana, Led Zeppelin.
No, it was awesome, ek is maar Zeppelin. En obviously John Paul Jones, het basis van Zeppelin, het later 'n band saam met Dave Grohl gemaak, them Crooked Vultures.
Listen, ek ken nie baie meer oor
die basis van Zeppelin. Moet gaan luister.
Is daar iets wat die wêreld nie van jou weet nie? Het jy soos iets interessant oor jou lewe, kind of like wie jy is as 'n persoon wat baie min mense van weet, because we've got the persona right, en ons weet van die music production en wat jy doen as 'n besigheid en jou stage persona en jou musiekcarrière, maar is daar iets wat mense miskien nie van jou weet nie?
I don't know. I love Barbara Streisand.
There we go. I think that was it.
I
Jentel.
think a lot of people know that. That's what I.
What's your favorite course? What's your favorite course?
Spaghetti.
Eet jy Thai? Japanese? South African?
Ek kan net nie 'n hele Thai eet op een slag nie, maar
Wat van Thai-style noodles? Wat 'n cool plek het jy al gevisit oor see? Watter plek sal jy recommend waar jy al ooit getravel het?
ek was al 2 keer in die Mentawai en Sumatra, in die Mentawai eilande gewees in Sumatra. Laas jaar daar's fucking goeie surf daar. En daar's nie baie mense nie. So jy travel 2 dae van hier af. 2 dae travels, 3 flights en 2 boat rides. Maar as jy daar aankom, is dit like Hawaii type waves. Daar's nie baie mense nie. Jy kan net met 'n boot by die waves uitkom.
No way. Maar surf jy groot waves op jou profile pic op WhatsApp? That's a pretty big wave.
Ek het op daai wave op my profile pic het ek amper verdrink laas jaar April. Ek was onder die water vir 'n lang tyd. Ek was weg, ek kon nie die boot kry nie, want jy surf, as jy Sumatra surf, is in die middel van die see, so dis nie asof jy surf en daar's 'n beach nie. Dis op 'n reef break, so jy gaan uit met 'n boot. En dan
jy's in die middel van die ocean.
Ja, dit na my wife, ek was baie lank onder water en ja, dit was baie scary geweest, maar ek het weer teruggegaan. Ek het April gegaan. Amper versuip en toe kom ek terug en toe gaan ek weer terug in September om die wave weer te try surf. Dus ek bietjie meer avontuur, maar ek moet weer teruggaan want ek het nie myself
Facing your fears. En dit met hardcore wees, ek het een keer amper verdrink en let me say, that's not a good experience. It does not feel good. It actually, daar's niks op daai oomblik wat jy aan kan dink behalwe I just need to breathe, I need to breathe, I need to breathe en jy kan nie, want jy's al
die ding is dit sulke groot waves is dan jy kan nie, daar's die tyd, toe ek die eerste wipe, die eerste keer wipe en ek dink hulle sê is about so 15-20 sekondes van wipe, is dit maar 5 of maar met 7, so 15 sekondes van wipe, gee vir jou statically about 'n minuut en 'n half se asem ophou.
Oh, shit.
As jy jou asem kan ophou vir maar 'n minuut en 'n half, 2 minute, dan kan jy about 15 sekondes wipe. En 'n 15 sekonde wipe is lank, want jy exert baie energy omdat jy hardloop met suurstof uit.
Ja.
Jy moet redelijk kalm bly as jy op 'n groot wave wipe.
Jy moet daar zen onder die see.
Ja, en so die eerste wave my ondervat en dit vat lank en so het ek nie baie uitgefreak nie. En net opgegaan, stadig my asem begin uitblaas. I knew it was coming, maar toe ek opkom, toe die tweede wave is te klaar op my, so toe ek nie meer asem nie.
Nee, okay, dat ja.
Toe ek uit asem uit, toe begin ek bietjie panic. En gelukkig het die tweede wave het my uit die water uitgeskiet. So ek kon weer 'n bietjie asem kry. So toe ek weer onder en toe ek opkom, toe slaan die derde wave my bord onder my uit en toe begin ek like, okay, fuck nou, let's nou see jy dood.
This is serious.
Ja, en dis te groot. Ek meen die wave is like 18-20 voet groot. Ek gaan nie 'n fok onder die wave inkom nie. Daar is net een way en jy gaan nou gemartel word soos 'n fucking ragdoll. Dit voel letterlik asof iemand jou dit voel asof iemand jou limbs uitmekaar uitskeer as jy geramble word deur so 'n wave. Dus en jy try uitfigure like waar's bo en waar's onder en is baie whitewash en shit en jy weet nie wat like waar gaan ek nou heen, like waar bo is, waar onder is nie. So en toe ek klaar nou daar is ek like yes. was fucking lang geweest, dis die met haar keer. Maar dit is by far die lekkerste plek om heen te gaan. Want hoe verder jy travel in die mens in, hoe minder mense raak het.
Ja, I love deserted places. Ek hou nie van fully populated nie. Ek hou van waar die mense nie eers Engels praat nie.
Jy kan like Bali toe gaan, maar Bali is moes 'n toeristie en jy sukkel om 'n wave te kry want daar's soos like 'n kakhuis vol mense. En almal gaan daar toe te surf. Dis regtig is 'n fok op. Like jy gaan daar's mooi waves, maar dis baie mense gaan so toe. Die mense is like met jy land in Padang, jy land in Jakarta, dan vlieg jy Padang toe en dan van Padang af tel 'n ferry jou op en hy 3 uur op die ferry en dan tel nog 'n bootjie op. Dan gaan jy na die eiland toe. En daar's nie baie mense praat Engels nie. En daar's sulke cool mense daar, Gideon en Chantal Malherbe, hulle het 'n stukkie van haar eiland. So jy bly by hulle, maar like daar's net 4
Hitte. Nee, wat?
ja, en jy bly like 3 ouens op jy weet in een plekkie. En dan elke oggend en elke keer vrugte en dis regtig cool. Dis regtig cool. En hy gaan Gideon gaan skiet vis in die aand, eet jy tuna en dit is baie cool. Maar dis
wil jy nie liewer net daar gaan bly vir ewig nie? That's what I want to do.
Dis te warm vir my. Dis 30 grade buite, maar die water is ook 30 grade.
But 30 grade water is awesome. Jy surf hierso in 9 grade, 12 grade crazy. Soos 'n rock, the silver otter.
Nou met die lockdown, ek sien hulle foto's like Chantal en Gideon, hulle kan nie surf nie. En dis letterlik al wat jy kan doen op daai fucking eiland te surf.
Nou eet hulle. Soos die res van ons.
Dis al wat hulle kan doen.
Hulle gaan net.
Ja. Nee, fok, maar ek sal weer terug gaan so toe. Dis fucking lekker daar. Ek hou van dit. Ek wil miskien Sri Lanka toe gaan. Daar's ook lekker waves daar en nie baie mense nie.
Want daai
dis lekker. Ja, dis perfek. Ek love a movie.
Is dit een van die movies ooit nie?
Ja, dit in Highlander.
Und
Dit is 'n movie ooit.
Highlander. Ek dink ek het Highlander 42 keer gekyk.
Ja, ons het baie gekyk. Oh my sek. Ten minste 20 keer by julle huis.
Ja.
En dan nog ten minste 20 keer by my huis.
Ons het. Dit is seker die movie wat ek nog die meeste my hele lewe gekyk. Daai ding wat hy sy hare so in die water sit en dan gaan hy so op. En daai vrou, ons was mal oor sy vrou wat in daai love en dan daai fight met die ou met die nek. It was 'n awesome movie.
Ja, dis 'n great movie nog steeds. Daar's actually 'n scene in ek moes selfs so lekker gelag of voor dis daar Ricky Bobby Will Ferrell movie.
Wat die een?
Waar hy Talladega Nights, waar hy reiskarre. Maar dan praat hy so want dis dan is in die movie. En dan sê hy vir hom ja, maar niks is so goed soos Highlander nie. Maar ook net sê it won an Academy Award. So for what? So for the best movie ever made. Dis lekker. Ja.
Ja, dit.
won an award.
So hou jy van movies kyk? Want ek sê jy luister jy kyk movies saam met jou kinders.
Ja, ek kyk ook baie movies.
Weet jy wanneer jy kyk as 'n TV-reeks? Maar as jy van comedies hou, is Modern Family, unless jy het al klaar gekyk het. Ek lag myself dood daarvoor. Jy gelag daarvoor?
Ja, is cool, ja. Ja, is befokte serie. Ek het mos gelike vir Arrested Development.
Ek het die hele reeks. Ek het hulle die box set op DVD. Ek het sê vir my kind nou die dag van my dogtertjie is nou 12, right? So I'm starting to introduce her. Okay, I forgot to say I introduced her to the wrong stuff as well. Een van die movies wat ek onlangs vir gewys het was 7. I maybe regret that a little bit.
Ja, yes.
Maybe not a
12-year-old. Daar's 'n kop in die boks. Ja, nou my kind. Wat gebeur met jou?
Bad parent. Maar die ander goed is soos Arrested Development. Good, sharp humor.
Wat vir jou kind wys, Pacific Rim.
Weet jy wat nee, ek dink sy is te bang om te surf, want sy is mal oor boogie boards
Ja, maar Pacific Rim is daai...
Die einde,
Dis Guillermo del Toro, die ou wat Pan's Labyrinth
Ek
gemaak
het sy premiere in Cannes gesien met hom wat die movie introduce.
Is dit? Van Pan's Labyrinth.
Pan's
Dis
Labyrinth,
awesome.
ja. Awesome movie.
So hy het 'n movie gemaak, 'n Pacific Rim van daai ouens in die jy moet dit check.
Is it space? The space movie?
Nee, dis so 'n movie van kaiju van die dis so half Godzilla. Maar dit is like 1000 keer beter as Godzilla. Dis like but dit moet sy imagination in. So hy het hierdie daar's hierdie groot monsters kaijus wat soos Godzilla is. En dan die enigste mense wat hulle kan defeat is hierdie moose robots, maar is fucking groot en dit word die twee pilots sit in die helmet en hulle connect met hulle rugstringe aan mekaar en net twee mense kan jy moet compatible wees met die ander persoon, so dit moet jou twin wees of
Oh wow. Of genetic DNA needs to match somehow.
Awesome movie. En
So dit gaan glad nie oor die see nie.
Nee.
It's not in the name, Pacific Rim.
Want ek het vir Lisa gewys. Dis 'n fucking awesome movie en Ron Perlman is daarin en die movie het nooit enige besigheid gedoen in die States nie, maar dit was moeë groot in Europe gewees.
Ja, but Europe is 'n bietjie meer artistic as USA, right? Daar's awesome movies in Europe.
Hulle het 'n tweede Pacific Rim gemaak, maar dit was so cool nie, maar die eerste een was regtig fucking great.
Okay, ek gaan dit op my to watch list sit. Jy moet vir my 'n to watch list stuur en ek sal vir jou 'n to watch list stuur.
Text in die way en it's daar's baie Idris Elba is daarin.
Oh cool. Ek hou van hom.
Ek dink hy's die enigste known actor daarin. Like
I don't mind that. Ek hou van interessante movies. It doesn't have to be famous people. I like a good story.
I see Pan's Labyrinth actually dit ook
I love Pan's Labyrinth.
There's a other type of movie, maar sy selfe director en selfe, jy weet, like dieselfde type of cinematography en goed. Hy gebruik dieselfde mense. So very cool to watch.
Okay. Well, ek dink that was it.
Oh, man.
Had 'n awesome tyd.
Awesome man.
En dankie dat jy dit gedoen het.
Ja, awesome, presies.
Waar toe gaan jy? Is jy in jou studio weer?
Nee, ek seker 'n battery vir my vape, maar ek kan dit nie inkry nie.
Vir jou vape. Hoe is dit om te vape?
Ag, is so lekker soos 'n rookie. Nou moet ek maar hier probeer.
Ek hoor die lockdown sigarette is R100 'n pakkie.
Ja, maar my longkapasiteit is op van dit was 89%.
Dis min.
Ja, super min. En
Jy in die hospitaal was met daai wat jy gedink was COVID.
Ja, en nou sit 96% van dit ek op rook het.
Yay! Jy moet begin Wim Hof. Ken jy vir Wim Hof die breathing?
Ek doen al Wim Hof, Art Matthews het vir my die Wim Hof kak gestuur. Ek doen dit nogal.
Weet jy, daai breathing is amazing. Die eerste keer wat ek die breathing gedoen het die weirdste ding met my gebeur. En weet jy, doen baie keer daai breathing, hou jy jou asem en kyk hoe lank jy dit kan hou. En dan doen jy soos 'n count, die langste wat ek gedoen was 1 minuut 40 and I'd never done that before. Maar op die derde long breath het my sound gegaan. Het geklink asof ek in 'n waterval was met rushing water. Dit was die weirdste sensation want gewoonlik, jy weet ek kry maar as jy meditate of wat ek al kry ek soos 'n tingly sensation maar ek het nooit auditory sensations gehad nie, nog nooit nie. En ek het na hierdie breathing het dit gevoel asof ek in 'n rushing waterval gestaan het. Die klank, dit is die eerste keer wat ek 'n sensory experience in my ore gekry het van enigiets.
Crazy. Ja, dis 'n cool Wim Hof goed. Ek het nou net 'n breathing gedoen.
Ek weet om nou die ander ou, ek weet nie nou wat sy naam is. Hy's een van 'n Danish, Scandinavian, Icelandic man wat die deep free diving champion uit Breathology is soos sy website. En ek is nou besig om sy boek te lees want ek wil bietjie meer into breathing ingaan.
Wel as jy wil diep daar Annelie Visser.
Ja.
Sy's 'n local hierso wat ek gaan my kos nou doen saam met haar as die lockdown klaar. Ek wou dit gedoen het voor ek met haar huis toe gaan, want dit is belangrik dat jy daai kap doen. Maar sy doen 'n deep diving kursus of breathholding kurs. Sy werk vir die aquarium. En ja, en hulle doen 'n breathholding en deep diving kurs wat jy leer like
Ja, dis wat ek wil leer want ek dink behalwe vir net om daai te kan doen, ek dink om ons lyf te kan reg oxygenate is baie healing. Ek dink dit is baie belangrik
Mm.
vir ons lyf om optimal oxygen te kry. But ook daai fascination van to be able to snorkel of om te
Mm.
duik of soos jy wat dit gebruik met jou surfing, om daai control te
Ja,
hê, daai body mind
ja.
control.
Gaan check vir uit, Hanlie die Visser.
Ek
En
gaan
as 'n
gaan
ander
raak vir
John
die ander ou wat jy
McCarthy,
net vir my
maar
gesê
John
het.
McCarthy doen meer surfing breathing. Like
Ja.
Hanlie doen vat jou op 'n deep diving, sy doen die breath holding en onder water en sy het 'n course. Hulle doen daai course elke slag 3 maande kan jy die course doen.
So jy moet terugkom na my toe nadat jy jou kursus gedoen en dan sal ek weer vir jou interview en dan wil ek sien hoe jou experience was.
Okay, cool. Wat fok.
Ah, cool. Want
Goed man.
Theo, jy was awesome.
Jo.
Ek het almal klein hugs, cyber hugs om te sê dankie. Ek het dit regtig geniet and it was so nice om weer met jou te connect. So I'm just going to
Cool
end
man.
this off and just again in English just say thank you so much for giving me your time because I know time's precious with you, with your kids and with work and all of that. But it was awesome. It was such a cool and fascinating story and to get an insight into you and your life during lockdown. Thank you
Jo.
so much. I really appreciate it.
It's a pleasure.